This is the plaintiff, Desiree McKelvey. She says she gave the defendant a check to hold a house for her uncle to move into 3 months later. The defendant never sent a lease, had no contact with him, and her uncle decided he didn't want to rent the house from him. Now she can't seem to get her money back from this unscrupulous man. What he's doing isn't right, and she's suing him here and now for the $1,700 she's owed. This is the defendant, Ralph Marino. He says 10 days before the move-in date, the plaintiff calls and tells him she's changed her mind and wants all her money back. The nasty lady thinks she can boss people around, but things don't work that way. He lost out on potential tenants, doesn't owe her a thing, and has a message for her. You get more with honey than vinegar. And if she were nice about things with him, maybe they wouldn't have had to be here in court today. He's accused of being a stickler.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff gave the defendant money to hold a house for her, but she says he flaked out and now won't return the money. The defendant says that she just changed her mind and he doesn't give her refunds. It's the case of no return, no deposit.
Thank you, Douglas. Desiree McKelvey?
Yes.
You are suing Ralph Marino for $1,700, $1,200 of it, a deposit that you want returned to you, and $500 of it because your bills are late because he didn't return the money to you.
Yes.
Okay. What's going on?
On July 9th, I took my uncle to view his home. I was helping him look for a place to rent. We saw the home. We gave him a check for $1,200.
Were you renting a room in your home or what?
No, I was renting the whole house.
The home itself.
Right.
All right. And so you gave a check of how much? $1,200?
$1,200. I have the check.
Can I see the check?
Sure. He cashed it 2 days later.
Okay. Is that the bank record or your photocopy?
Yes, that's from the bank website.
I have the regular check right here.
You have the regular check?
Yeah, the one that I deposited through my phone.
Oh, you deposited electronically.
Yeah.
I still have to catch up with all that crazy stuff. I always wonder, wait, how do you have the check? Okay. You're looking at it in July, and you write in the memo, September rent to hold apartment.
Correct.
Why are you holding it for her for September?
Well, I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to rent it for August 1st, but they said they would write me the check for $1,200 for September.
You need the money?
Not really.
Well, I mean,
But, you know,
I would say no, we're renting it from August.
I was debating about selling it or renting it, and, you know.
Okay.
So I just let it go.
All right. And then when do you call and say, what happened to change your mind or your uncle's mind?
He had a personal reason that he had to move to a different town. So
Okay.
I contacted Mrs.
Well,
Marino.
what did you think you were doing when you paid the $1,200?
We were holding it for nobody else to rent it in the meantime. He never.
And then you could just change your mind, and then that's it for them?
Well, he never produced a lease. We haven't had any contact with him in 4 weeks. On August 11th.
That's because he didn't produce a lease because you told him a few days later, hey, we want our money back, we're not moving in. But what I'm asking you is, what do you think the point of telling the other side, take it off the market, we want it? Like, what's the point of if they take it off the market, isn't this what you're paying them to take it off?
Yeah, it was intended for September's rent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and you end up re-renting,
I wind up selling the place.
You winded up selling the place.
Yeah, because.
So when did you make the
I had to deal with
decision to sell the place?
it. After all this here.
So when did you sell the place?
Actually, it's in contract right now.
So you still haven't sold the place?
No, it's under contract.
Under contract.
I got a closing date of the 14th.
Or you got a closing date, okay. How long after she gives you the check do you say something to her? I mean, does she say something to you?
Probably about 2 weeks before September. I was getting ready to call them because they were supposed to come down and give me a month and a half security and sign a lease.
Okay.
The day I'm thinking about it, my wife calls me and told me that she called, that they didn't want it anymore,
Right.
that they want the rent back.
So it's 2 weeks before September, according to you?
Yes.
Do you have any evidence of when you...
I sure do. I have the Facebook messages to his wife on August 11th. I contacted her on the 11th.
Right, that is 2 weeks before September 1st.
On the 21st, on the 23rd, on the 24th.
Right, but when's
yeah.
the earliest you contacted her?
On the 11th.
Right, so
Yeah.
that is 2 weeks beforehand. So it's a month, it's over a month after you've handed the check. It's not 3 days later.
So if she just changes her mind, doesn't want to rent the house, does she get her money back?
No, she should not. The landlord should keep the deposit.
What do you say?
I think landlord should keep the deposit because, he was holding it for,
He was just holding it.
Yeah, but still, I mean, he could have rented it out before in that case.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Going inside the courtroom.
So a month later, you say, I know I've kept this off the market
Yes.
for a month and for the month of August and, and September's 2 weeks away, but now I want my money back. How would that?
That was as soon as my uncle told me that the problem came up, so I apologized to his wife, and I said, he originally asked for a $100 deposit.
That's what you should have done.
I know, I wish I did. My uncle was nervous, he wasn't gonna have any place to go, so he's like, I'll give you the whole month's security, just hold it. He offered the $1,200 and he took it. I wish we did 100.
Right.
So I said, I offered in my thing here, I said, you can keep the 100 that you originally asked for your inconvenience. I'm really sorry. And she said, no problem, that's too bad. I'll have my husband take care of it right away.
And then she tells you, and then you decide you're going to keep 200, and you write her a check, but you
After I
forget.
got a million phone calls from her mother, her father, and I just got
Well,
tired of
but
phone
your
calls.
wife is sitting there saying, yeah, no problem. Why is your wife
Well,
doing that?
I have no clue what she said that, but
Okay. Well, show me how she said it. All right. So in any event, you end up writing her a check for $1,000, right?
right, because I got tired of the constant phone calls.
Right.
So I agreed. I said, you know what? I'll send you $1,000 back.
Okay.
All right,
And
I'll
then what
keep 200.
happens?
I do a check on the computer. I forget to sign it. I put it in an envelope. I mailed it to her. She calls me back. You didn't sign the check. I said, fine. I says, rip it up. I'll send you another check. Then she started getting nasty on the phone with me. I
How?
said, no.
How?
How? Telling me she was going to bring me to court. I said, you know what? Just bring me to court. I'm done with it.
That's incorrect, it wasn't a phone call, it was over text, and I have the
Mm.
text message.
What'd you say? Read it out loud.
On September 17th, I said, did you put the check in the mail? I still didn't receive it. He contacted me on the 19th, couldn't send it out yet, was short. I imagine funds were short. We'll send it out this week, we'll have it Friday. So then,
That's the original check. Okay.
yeah. And then when I received it, on the 24th, they said, you sent me a check that wasn't signed, and I included a picture of the check. Rip that up, I'll send another one today. That was it. I haven't heard from him since September 24th. There was never any other check signed and sent to me. I filed in
Okay.
October.
Are there any other texts from you to him?
No,
Are
that
there
was
any
it.
other texts from him to you?
No, that's it.
Okay. He says you got nasty on the phone, and
It
we're
wasn't,
saying.
it wasn't a phone call, it was a text message.
Well, no.
Yeah.
We're talking. You just read everything about the first check.
Yeah.
And so that's not this. He's talking about after you realized that he sent you an unsigned check.
There wasn't a phone call, that's what I'm saying.
Well, there had to be, because you'd send him a text that says that, and you've never heard from him again.
Never again, I filed small claims. I was done with it. I filed the small claims court.
No Facebook message, nothing before you file in small
Nothing,
claims.
Nothing. I have the history of the Facebook messages between me
He
and his
says
wife.
to you, "Rip it up. I'll send you a new one," and you never say, "Hey, I never got the new one."
I was done. This has been going, it was back and forth. He kept playing
Did
games.
anybody advise you on the wisdom of that? Because you gave a deposit. Is there anywhere? Can you prove that anybody told you it would be refundable?
No.
Because I would much rather have the $1,000 in my hand and play nice.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was playing games. He sent me a check
Playing
that wasn't
games.
signed.
You gave a deposit and then you bailed on a verbal contract to rent it. Mm-hmm. And you almost had $1,000 in your hands.
But he never produced. Why did he never send me another check if he was going to make good on it?
I don't know, but I would have been a little more patient about him making good on it, because
I didn't-
now when you guys can't agree on something, you put me in a position where I have to decide who's right legally, as opposed to, wouldn't this be nice? I mean, so he decides he's going to give you $1,000, then he doesn't sign the check. Then you should. I mean, if you wrote a check, you should have already been counting on that money being gone. I don't know why you're. And then according to you, she gets nasty. Did you have because she doesn't seem that nasty in here, but did you just have second thoughts about the wisdom of it and whether you were entitled to it?
Well, I told her mother and her father, I said, why am I even...
Whose mother and father?
Her mother and father were calling me constantly in the beginning.
Are they lawyers?
No.
They're just more aggressive than you?
And I was saying, why am I even dealing with her? Why ain't I talking to the uncle? He's the one that rented the place. And I was willing to give her the $1,000 back. But my point is, why doesn't she get the money from her uncle? He's the one that...
she's trying to help her uncle out.
I understand all that, believe me. And that's why I was giving her the $1,000 back.
But I didn't file for small claims court until the end of October. He had a whole month that he was supposed to be sending me another check, and he never did.
Yeah, except for that, here's the deal. He doesn't have an obligation to send you another check.
I
I
think...
can only enforce a legal obligation. Once you get to court, all negotiations are off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could say, I'm going to give you $1 million, and then I don't give it to you. You can't sue me for that. That's just like an empty promise. Because unless you have some reason to think it's refundable, and you don't because you specifically write to hold the apartment. You know they're giving you something in return for the $1,200.
Yeah, the first month's rent.
Yeah, it's first month's rent, but you can't just bail 2 weeks before rent and say, just kidding, give it all back, and the fact that you kept it off the market for a month is on you. I can't do it. My hands are tied. My verdict in this case is for the defendant.
Well, the judge's hands are tied in this case. She really cannot give you back the money. You gave up too soon, obviously.
I disagree. I feel that he was playing games from the beginning because he sent me a check
Well,
that
you
wasn't
said you
signed.
washed your hands after
I
you
did.
notified him that one time. You should have persisted a little bit more.
After a whole month of going back and forth and,
Well, look what happened.
Yeah.
See? You gave up. That's your problem. Tell your mom and dad maybe they shouldn't have been kind of nasty to
Yeah.
him. Yeah, because that didn't help, you know? Sorry about that.
All right.
You must
Thank
sign a
you.
few documents. You learned the hard way. Mr. Marino, so you keep the money. You're out ahead,
Well,
in a way.
I should have listened to my wife to begin with and just sold the place and not get renters in there.
okay.
That was the first mistake I made.
So it's on the market, you have a deal, and
It's gone and sold.
that's the end of this.
That's the end of it.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Harvey, what do you think?
So I got to tell you, this is the most common problem. When you rent an apartment, you give a deposit, make it clear in the deal whether it's a refundable deposit or a non-refundable deposit.